Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you logging in and attending our fall festival virtually. So we'd like to take this moment to appreciate everybody that's logging in, but also take the time to share however which way you are viewing us currently with any friends, family members that you can reach out to expand the numbers that we have here, because we have a jam-packed schedule highlighting all the things that HAMA has been really doing throughout the years and the direction to which we plan to grow. So we wish that you stay tuned, invite any other individuals that you may know to also hop on and bear witness to a lot of the great things that we have in store. And so with that being said, I want to take the time to introduce HAMA's founder, Brenda Lormill, who has done a magnificent job, not just with the growth of HAMA, but with the growth of all the individuals that play a role in it and all the individuals within the community that she has been able to reach and really assist in a various different types of ways.
Thank you, Kenley. Before I get into anything, I think most folks know who I am. If you're viewing for the first time, I promise I'll tell you who I am. But Kenley, why don't you tell everyone who you are? And then I'll tell them how I met you, okay? Go ahead and tell everyone who you are. Lots of great things.
That's fair. So my name is Kenley Pueval. I am an MD PhD student at UMass Medical School in Worcester, Massachusetts. Aside from academics, one of my greater passions is mentoring, particularly mentoring students from our community, the Haitian community, that are in underserved populations and require assistance or resources, or even just mentorship to give them advice. And so I've had the privilege of being able to jump on board with HAMA as their nonprofit organization has been expanded to now include a mentorship program. And so through them, I've been able to work alongside various members of HAMA, of connecting with the youth in our community and helping them find resources and expand their support network in order to pursue careers in medicine and science and things of that nature.
Yes, that's exactly who Kenley is. Now let me tell you how Kenley came to HAMA. So Kenley's our lovely host tonight, and Kenley, we thank you deeply for your leadership in leading us tonight in our annual Fall Fest. Now, Kenley, I forgot what exactly it was online on Facebook a couple of years ago, maybe 2019, and I remember reading a comment from, at the time, a gentleman that I didn't know, which was Kenley, and it was talking about, do you guys do any mentorship for Haitian youth? And it's as if Kenley was a fly on the wall at a previous board meeting. We were talking about expanding the scholarship team to be able to provide mentorship. And I was like, oh, that's a little too ironic. And lo and behold, I said, okay, can we chat to figure out what your interests are? And almost 2 years later, Kenley is the lead of our mentorship program that actually launched this year and is expected to grow in the years to come. So Kenley, thank you. Welcome to Fall Fest 2021, everyone. I'm not supposed to be giving an account of how I met everyone, but I'm going to tell you that's literally how HAMA has been since 2017. So for those of you who don't know, who are recently joining us or catching us on a rebroadcast, HAMA is the Haitian American Medical Association. As Kenley did mention, my name is Brenda Lormill. I am the founder of this wonderful organization, currently comprised of 37 volunteers in 5 different states. HAMA started, I tell everyone, myself, God and the consultant, because HAMA was a vision written down in 2008 that I had no idea what to do with, but I knew it would do 2 things: impact the health and well-being of our Haitian community, but also pour into the youth of the Haitian community so that we can provide them the supports to be sustainable healthcare providers, not just for our healthcare system, but for our people, for our Haitian American people. HAMA launched in 2017 and has grown since. There are 9 different departments throughout our organization, from document translation to editorial, fundraising, our board, health education, our scholarship, mentorship, and it goes on. I have the privilege of meeting people like Kenley ever so randomly, but then also having people who have seen HAMA grow from day one and jumped on board and has provided their support. I'm also grateful for the community partnerships that we've been able to create, from local faith-based organizations to colleges and universities in state, Northeastern University, to out of state, Quinnipiac University in the past years. So HAMA's growing, and it is our hope that we can stick by our mission and do that well. So I'm excited to be here, yet another year of Fall Fest. There are a lot of things that we want to share with you this evening. There are a lot of people we want to highlight this evening. There is one person in particular that we want to hear from, and that is Marc Julmise from Zanmi Lasante. So the night is loaded with things. So I'm going to stop talking so that we could get right into everything. And I'm going to hand it back over to your wonderful host, Kenley Preval.
Awesome. Thank you, Brenda. So next what we'll be doing is introducing some of our scholarship awardees. And so I've had the utmost privilege of actually getting to know these individuals, because now with the mentorship program, they have also been able to play a role within that and become HAMA mentees. So I've gotten to know these individuals pretty well, and their marvelous track record and academic success, and being the marvelous individuals that they are. So if you will show some support in the chat and graciously welcome some of these awardees. So initially we have Eileen.
Hi, Kenley.
Hi, Eileen. Nice to see you. And in addition to that, we have another awesome awardee and mentee in Isabelle.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. So it's nice to see you both. I'm glad you all can hop on. So rather than me kind of recapping everything that I know about you all, I'd appreciate if you all kind of took the time to let everybody know what schools you're enrolled in, some of your interests, and some of the things that kind of got you to be involved in HAMA and where you are now. And we can start with Eileen, then we'll move on to Isabelle.
So hi, everyone. I can start by saying that I attend Emmanuel College. I'm a rising or senior now. Will be graduating in May, which is kind of surreal. But I study biology with a minor in neuroscience and theology, and I'm really interested in global public health and looking at the intersections of religion and health science and how that affects the global world, and how we can use those two topics to really inform each other and help strengthen our global health.
Hi, everyone. I am Isabelle, and I am currently a first year at Yale University, currently majoring in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology on the pre-med track. And throughout high school, I got into scientific biomedical research. So that is currently the track I'm on right now. And potentially after my undergrad, I want to obtain my MD, PhD.
Fantastic. Great to hear from you both. So one interesting question that comes to mind is, living in a Haitian household, there's often multiple conversations, direct one-on-one conversations about our academic progress and where we want to be, where we see ourselves. So my question to you both is, what are some of those things that you heard within a Haitian household from a parent, a guardian, possibly even a sibling, that really propelled you to get to where you are now, and maybe even something you still remind yourself of? And we can go in the same order of Eileen to Isabelle.
Yeah, academic excellence was definitely something that was pushed in a Haitian household, and I'm grateful for it now. I will say maybe the methods and the pushing were the best, but I think definitely having that strong education background is something that I appreciate and something that has definitely shaped the woman I am today. But I think a word that has pushed me to achieve my goals is initiative. My parents are always pushing me to think bigger, see the bigger picture, and create really, and do so in a way that informs and is motivated by my own passions. But I think that's something that potentially has separated me from my peers, and that I do take certain levels of initiative to do better for myself and my community.
For me, my mother, she moved from Haiti when she was 15 years old without her parents, and she mainly grew up with her cousins and her aunts and uncles. So basically, she had to like come to a whole new country and basically learn everything herself. So when it came along and she had her family and she had me, sometimes, especially when I was in middle school, I would like go up to her and ask her, I was like, oh, everyone in my class has these brand new shoes, or everyone in my class is doing this and doing that. And my mom, she would always tell me, she says, you are not your friends, you are not your classmates, you are Isabelle. So you have to go on your own path and know the things that you want. Well, not the things that other people want, things that you want, and how you're going to get the things you want besides just looking past other people. And I still remember those words today, especially since she told me those on mainly a weekly basis in middle school and high school. And especially important now because as I'm a first year in college, I'm around people who came from much different walks of life as I am. And it's very easy, especially in my point in my college career, to compare the stuff I've done versus the stuff that my roommate has done or my friends have done or, one person in a 200 lecture class has done. So I just remember what my mom says, because even though we all came from different walks of life, we're all at the same institution, going to get the same degrees. And at the end of the day, I just have to learn that how to do the things I want besides looking and comparing at other people.
Awesome. Really, really great answers from the two of you. Thank you for that. Another question that is very prevalent nowadays is with dealing with how things were and how they're starting to move back into due to COVID, due to a lot of civil unrest of just being African American in the United States. And then also how that affects you academically, whether it's courses that you took in the past virtually, or having to miss certain milestones and not being able to celebrate certain events the same way you would have prior to the pandemic. So with all of that kind of struggle, there inevitably is some growth that comes from that. And so my question to you too is, what have you learned through this period of time that you're taking into with you, not just during academically in your college years, but maybe outside of that with friends and families as well?
I think one thing that I've definitely taken from the pandemic is that not everything has to be the same. I think one thing the pandemic has forced us to do is really adapt and change. And we've seen a lot of conversations just about inclusivity and diversity and all of these things that now we're seeing are really possible, but it just required a certain level of push. So I think going further, one of the biggest lessons that I'll take from this is that progress is possible. It's just the level of push and motivation that the audience you're trying to change has to reach that progress. I think the other thing that the last couple of years have taught me is just grace and I think patience. I think I've spent math-wise like 2/3 of my education on an online platform. So it's definitely been really surreal, but having professors who could give a level of grace, understanding that we were all going through troubling times, and even now going back in person, it was those months between September and now, it was definitely a struggle, I will say, just going back into that in-person learning, both on a social level and an academic level. So just having patience, I think it's definitely strengthened that virtue in me.
For me, the past pandemic has taught me to look for this silver lining in pretty much everything. During the pandemic, or at the start of the pandemic, I was a junior in high school, and I basically had to do my entire senior year of high school online, which meant no football games, no senior traditions that I waited 4 years for. And for a period of time during that time, I was very bitter about it. I was sad about the pandemic. But also at the same time, I feel like some of the things, if I wasn't at home that entire 18-month period, I feel like I wouldn't have certain opportunities that I have today. such as going to the school I'm currently going to, or potentially even being a part of this awesome organization. So what I kind of took from that is finding the silver lining in different things, in mistakes, problems, and bringing it into 2022. Even this year, like sometimes maybe something doesn't go my way. Maybe I don't get the best grade on a test, or maybe, I don't know, a potential like program doesn't happen because like COVID is still a problem right now. But at the end of the day, you have to see, just because one thing happens, you can always find other options. Maybe those options are better than the original plan that you went for.
Awesome. Very, very insightful. Appreciate that. So kind of going off that theme of kind of looking through the past and looking how the past has helped us get to where we are now. Now I've had these conversations with you, so I've had the privilege to know of the bright future you all plan to have. But kind of expand on that, plan on some of the aspirations that you plan to, achieve or conquer within the next few months or next few years.
Yeah, so I think number one goal is to graduate successfully. And the semester has really flown by, so I'm excited for what spring will bring. Particularly what's like leading up kind of chronologically. I'm looking into some grad school programs to get my master's in public health, and also some MD programs because I want to be a practicing physician. But I think greater goals is just thinking about the impact that I want to have, and in joining this organization, one of the impacts I've wanted to have is just to get more involved with my community. And I think HAMA really makes that possible. And also later down the line, act as a mentor as well, because I think I've had so many amazing opportunities and just a lot of lessons, even in my short lifetime, that I want to help really mentor and guide future scientists, future scholars, future Haitian Americans. So yeah.
For me, definitely with this being my first few months of school, my main goals for the near future is to become a better both student and scientist on both ends. Just like improving my studying skills and improving, therefore, my scientific skills, being able to do research and hopefully being able to be in a lab and be in that process of being in a lab that I didn't really get to have the opportunity for in the past few years. And especially during these next 4 years in general, I want to explore the different research opportunities they have here in New Haven, since there's so many, and hopefully allow that to transfer into graduate school.
Awesome. And so, being that HAMA is a health-oriented organization, I feel impelled to ask a question revolving around health. But this particular question, I feel, is going to be very helpful for the youth that may be logging in, but especially for the adults, the parents, the guardians that log in. Because as you both are very much well aware of that, there is a lot of rigor and difficulty that comes with pursuing sciences and medicine. And so what is very important is that we maintain a healthy mental health or mental health status, and that we check in with that. So one of the ways that I always make sure to ask you all, like, what are you doing to preserve your mental health? Which is, what are you doing away from school? How are you allowing yourself to refresh, recharge, and the little bit of time that it finds its way in your schedule to be able to breathe and relax? So if we can kind of discuss on the things that help you stay in an upbeat manner to be able to deal with the difficulty of the science and medical classes.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think speaking to Isabelle's silver lining point, one thing that COVID gave me the ability to was kind of pick up hobbies and really get back into some hobbies that I had lost touch in, like reading. I picked up embroidery for a little while. And I also started like bike riding just throughout my neighborhood. Obviously, it's getting a little darker and a little colder now, so that's not as possible. But reading is something that always grounds me. And I think something I do outside of that is I recently started therapy, and that just really gives me space to talk through everything I'm feeling. I mean, as we said, like the beginning of the semester was tumultuous, and just having space and kind of an unbiased person to talk to. I mean, even if you don't have access to a therapist, I think, I mean, Kenley's been great too in that, just having someone to just really listen and talk through your issues that might not necessarily be going through the same things that you're going through. So yeah.
For me, something that is very important for me when it comes to staying grounded is preventing burnout. So usually what would happen is if I'm doing an assignment and I'm just getting mentally frustrated or tired, that's when I would like close my laptop, close my book, and just do literally anything for like the next like 20 to 30 minutes. And then hopefully in those 20 to 30 minutes, if I find the motivation to keep working, I'll open my computer again. And if not, I'll close it for the night and like go wait until the morning. And as for specific activities that I do, I like to go on walks a lot around here, especially maybe not so much now since it's getting darker and colder. And also one thing I like to do is professor told me this actually here at school is like one thing that he would do is he would after dinner he would study for 3 hours. And then after those 3 hours, the hardcore studying in the library, he would like come back to his dorm and hang out with his friends. So I adapted that strategy. So usually after dinner, I would go down campus to the library, study for like 3 or 4 hours. And then as a study break, I'll like walk back to my dorm and hang out with my friends. And after a few hours, if I decide I want to do homework, because I have like some pressing homework before I go to bed, then I would do it. If not, if I'm too tired, then I would save it for the next morning. Definitely like hanging out with my friends, talking through our issues, or just having fun in general. Just getting my mind off homework and schoolwork and everything about school is the best strategy I have.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. As we're kind of nearing towards the end of this section, I would love to take this opportunity to ask a very specific question, which I hope all of your family and friends who have tuned in or maybe re-listening to this recording, however they choose, to have their ears kind of perked up. So in the nature of what we do and the difficulty in what we do, our rewards and our accomplishments, I believe, require a very similar praise and celebration. I know I praise God for the favor that he has on you for all that you're doing. But in the spirit with the holiday seasons coming near, what are some ways that you personally, nothing bound to it, would like to kind of celebrate that with COVID limitations somewhat being an issue or may not, but what are some of the things you look forward to at the end of this semester, whether it be just being able to go home with your family and sit down for a dinner, being able to be around for the holidays and kind of get back to what you did before moving away on campus and whatnot, or any other typical ways that you like to kind of celebrate these big milestones within your careers?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for Thanksgiving. I think we're going to have a small gathering with everyone being vaccinated now. And I think one thing I definitely enjoy is just sharing my experience. I don't know if they always like understand what I'm doing in the lab and things like that, but I think just being able to share with my parents, my aunts and uncles, and my cousins what I'm doing, and I think just sharing, and also looking forward to graduation and graduation parties and graduation gifts.
Yeah, for me, I'm very excited to go back to Massachusetts and hang out with my family. And definitely one thing I miss about Massachusetts specifically is Dunkin' Donuts. I really love coffee, and there's like no Dunkin' around here. I would have to like walk 30 minutes to the closest Dunkin', which is not very fun. So during the holidays, I'm planning just like hang out with my family, hang out with my high school friends. I haven't seen them in a long time, especially with the pandemic. Some of them I haven't seen since like before the pandemic, like junior year. But we have plans to connect during the holidays, which is going to be very exciting. And just like hit up all my favorite places at home that I haven't been able to go to for the past few months.
Awesome. I think we're going to close here with just like the last 5 minutes or so. So just real briefly, if you can impart some type of advice to maybe a younger audience member that's tuning in right now, or somebody even around your same age who is trying to navigate the same waters as you, or to anybody who is, kind of like myself, who is in a certain position where other individuals aspire to get, and whether they like provide services to the community or they're thinking about providing certain services, any advice you can give to either one of those audiences?
Yeah, so I'd say like 3 pieces of advice that I feel like have helped guide me is follow your gut and your intuition. I think, again, speaking to what Isabelle said, there's sometimes a lot of pressure to compare yourself to other people. And I think when you really just listen to yourself and what you really want, that helps guide you to places much better than trying to do what other people are doing, which speaks to the second thing is just follow your passions. And I think we touched on it earlier briefly, but there's a cultural, I think, emphasis on doing certain degrees and certain topics, but the world and careers are really boundless. So just do what you think you find interesting in and try not to feed into some of that pressure, and just listen to advice. I think I've come to where I have just by listening to people who are older and wiser than me, and just take that all in, but don't necessarily, I know it's a balance. So don't just take it in and do what other people say, but take it in and just listen to other people's life experiences. So yeah.
Advice that I would give to current students is one that took me a long time to learn myself, is to get help when you need it. Definitely when I was in high school, like early on in my high school career, I was sometimes too proud to go after school with my teachers and ask them on help for an assignment. And then I would end up struggling or getting frustrated on the same assignment over and over again. So once I got over that barrier and learned to stay after school with my teachers and allowed them to help me, school became so much more better and so much more easier. So I would give that advice to go get help when you need it, either academically, mentally, whatever way, just make sure you get help. And additionally, the second piece of advice that I would give is to follow the beat of your own drum and follow your passions. And don't pay attention to anyone else. Whatever be around you, don't compare yourself to anyone. Just make sure you're doing the stuff that you want to do and you're happy with it.
Fantastic. And I would just like to close that with giving advice to other individuals, possibly my stage or older. Pour back into the youth. We're now having this great opportunity to hear 2 bright, brilliant Black females discuss their path in medicine and science. And a lot of that comes from, older generations being able to pour into them and provide them guidance and support and resources. So there is a very significant service to be made here. And more importantly, I thank you both for signing in, for sharing, giving advice, and being the phenomenal individuals that you are. So everybody that is present, please show them some love and support in the chat. If you know them personally, intimately, send them some messages, some calls, and thank them and appreciate them for all the good work that they're currently doing and will continue to do in the future. Thank you both. Awesome. So it was amazing being able to hear from our awardees, 2 of which who were not able to make it, one being Walserson, who is a freshman at Brown University, also a phenomenal individual, doing so many great things, has such a bright career path, very interested in being able to help his community in a variety of ways, an interest in medicine as well. And then also, we have another awardee. Her name is Jaymie, who is going into medicine. And she as well, been able to speak with her and get an understanding of who she is and how much she cares for her community and how much she wishes to give back through the means of medicine. And just her genuine heart and care for the Haitian community and to be able to provide such a service through nursing at Brown University. Oh, I'm sorry, at Howard University. So next, in keeping it in tune with, kind of highlighting some of the things that HAMA is doing, this particularly being mentorship, but highlighting all the things abroad. We have a special video presentation from a phenomenal individual who does a lot for the Haitian community and does a lot for them through medicine and research as well. He's been a very instrumental individual in giving back and providing services to the community and to individuals who require it, resources and knowledge that he has obtained through his medical and scientific degrees. And that individual is Dr. Paul Farmer, who has his MD, PhD at Colquhoun University. He is a professor of the Department of Global Health and Social Medicine at Harvard Medical School. He is also a Chief Division of Global Health Equity at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. He is a co-founder and chief strategist of Partners in Health. Dr. Farmer and his colleagues have pioneered novel community-based treatment and strategies that demonstrate the delivery of high-quality healthcare in resource-poor settings. He has written extensively on health, human rights, and the consequences of social inequities. He is also a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences and then it's in the Institute of Medicine of the National Academy of Services, from which he has received the 2018 Public Welfare Medal. In 2020, Dr. Farmer has been awarded the Bergeron Prize of Philosophy and Culture. And now we'll take a minute to showcase his video.
Happy Fall Fest to the Haitian American Medical Association. Bonne fête, toutes amis mieux. One of the things that we celebrate with the Fall Fest is the next generation. And we have a lot to celebrate as ever in the Haitian American community because the assets of this community are so clearly found in the coming generations. So to Eileen, Jaymie, Walserson, and Isabelle, I offer my heartiest congratulations. I know you're going to hear from my close friend and colleague, Marc Julmise, and you'll learn, as we do early in our medical training, that medicine writ large requires all of us to pull together for health and well-being. That's what HAMA is about. That's what this Fall Fest is about. And that's what our discussions here will be about. So congratulations to our young scholars and enjoy your meeting. Thank you for including me.
Sending me messages everywhere that I'm muted. So I am so sorry, you guys. But again, to Dr. Paul Farmer, thank you for taking the time out to share this encouraging video with us this evening. To Isabelle and Eileen for sharing those words of encouragement, very deep about your experience and where you plan to go, finding the silver lining, embracing change. Things do not have to be the same all the time. I totally agree. I heard a quote about maybe 4 weeks ago. It says, change is constant, be like water, flow around it, over, underneath it, just get through it. Another path will be made. So one thing is for sure, we know all about change at HAMA. And we are thankful for the things that we have been able to accomplish. So I am very, very happy right now. But I got to stick to the program. And I want to share with you guys HAMA in review. So 2021, what has HAMA been up to? What have we been doing? those of you who have been following along with us since last year, you know that we have shifted all of our health education to a virtual platform because of COVID. We have remained on a virtual platform all throughout 2021. And I also want to share with you guys a couple of other exciting news for things to come. So let me get prepared here. All right, so just for a visual, there we go. So 2021 in review, our health education. This project launched in 2018, and for 3 years, so the first 3 years, we were funded by the networks of National Libraries of Medicine here in the New England region, and we are very, very fortunate and grateful for their partnership. We also, during 2019, have noticed that the exact impact that we were able to have was decreased because of ICE. At the time, there was fears of deportation. We couldn't get into our community the way that we wanted to. And this health education, when I say it's a tour in that first bullet, we would go from community space to community space, church to church, even in some of the high schools, to provide health education to our Haitian community in the Haitian Creole language. 2019, we met the challenges of ICE deportations, and then in 2020, we met the challenges of COVID-19 restrictions, and then of course into 2021, we're still maintaining our safety and abiding to the guidelines of restrictions that surround COVID-19. A lot of the places that we would go to do this health education were not open. Some of the churches weren't open. And then, of course, limiting capacities in some of the spaces that we would go to was not the right thing to do. However, we continued on a virtual platform. And if you see to the left of your screen, in the past years, in 2018, we were moving. 2019 dropped a little bit. In 2020, our impact increased. And then, of course, in 2021, we were able to reach more folks on our live platforms on Facebook and YouTube, and then also being able to share some of the content that were already created with local faith-based organizations to share with their congregations, and then follow up with Q&A sessions online. So very, very impactful, and we are grateful for the collaborations. Now, if you're viewing your screen here, I just want to give you guys a synopsis of exactly what was happening all through 2021 without reading everything to you. But on your screen, you'll see month by month the different health-related content that we have available, actually still on YouTube, in terms of our live stream content. Throughout the year, it was our mission, and it still is our mission, to constantly keep our Haitian community aware of the different COVID-19 changes, general precautions, awareness about vaccines, and then also the effects of COVID. There's a lot of grief. There is a lot of loss. There are a lot of challenges for folks who are recuperated or who have recuperated from COVID-19. So throughout this whole screen, you'll notice several COVID updates, and that was intentional for us to not only just have our Haitian community hear what's going on in the news, but also give them the information in their native language, and then providing the space for them to ask any Q&A questions so that we can meet them where they are. We are grateful for all of our amazing speakers. Being on a live platform has allowed us to collaborate with some amazing speakers from different parts of Massachusetts and also outside of Massachusetts. We've had speakers from New York, Florida, Georgia. It's been very helpful to find folks who specialize in some of these medical specialties to share their expertise with our Haitian community. One thing that we did in March, which was the first time we actually did this, one of our speakers, young man Ricky, He works at Brigham and Women's, and he's a diabetes nurse practitioner. He's very motivated to share diabetes education with our Haitian community, but Haitian Creole was not his strong suit. So for the first time in March, we actually decided to do a bilingual session, and that was very, very, very helpful. And we kind of continued the same flow. But if you guys are, any of these topics jump out to you, if you serve the Haitian community, you can head on over to our YouTube page. All of those videos are there. They're in the Haitian Creole language. Feel free to share them with your community or view them for yourself. One, I'm going to point a lot of attention to, not that it's more important than any of them here, is in June, we decided to do something that we don't do in our Haitian community, which is share our stories of the health challenges that we've gone through. And cancer in particular has a really soft spot for me. When I'm not leading HAMA, and I actually have a day job, and that is at Massachusetts General Hospital. I'm the equity nurse practitioner in the cancer center here, and I've been practicing in cancer for the past 10 years. And one thing in June is that we were able to get a survivor story. So we had a beautiful mix of an older Haitian American and younger Haitian American in her 30s to share their stories about their journey with cancer and how cancer is not a death sentence. It's a beautiful story. Again, that is also available on YouTube for anybody who wants to catch the replay on our survivor story in regards to cancer. So academic scholarships, you just met Eileen, you just met Isabelle. Bobo, Walserson Bobo is at Brown University, and Jaymie is at Howard pursuing nursing. But this is not just something that just showed up, right? Academic scholarships with HAMA has been going on since 2017. And for me, that was a mandate for this organization. We could put it together, but what can we do that's different? And I believe in sowing the right seeds. I think Eileen talked about giving back and mentoring and sharing the things that she was able to have an opportunity to those who are coming up behind her. And that's what it's all about. And HAMA has been dedicated to doing this since 2017. So to date, 5 years in, we've had 20 students awarded an academic scholarship from our organization and invested $17,500 back into our community. And not only that, but every single applicant that does apply for our academic scholarships, before we even select anybody, we have a professional development seminar for all applicants. It's part of their application process to be present. And we just join forces, our team joins forces and just provides and pours back into them what to expect, what not to expect, what to do, how to comport yourself, the struggles you may face being a young Haitian American, slowly moving into some of these public spaces when they go into college or already there. So this has been a growing program. I am very, very, very excited to tell you what's to come in a couple of slides. But this is our academic scholarship program, and we're so happy with the growth that we have been able to see with this program. So future plans for our health education. Health education, our frequency is going to increase. 2021 was the first year of us being fully virtual, a plan that we honestly had geared for more 2024, 2025. But like Eileen had mentioned, COVID seemed to have shown up on us and changed a lot of things. And we were able to shift virtually much sooner than we intended. And we noticed that our impact, like you've seen in previous slides, has increased. So we want to make sure that we continue to do that and also have the ability to find our lovely Haitian American specialists to share their expertise with our community. We also want to increase our local radio presence. And what I mean by that is one of our Q&A sessions about COVID, we've done it on the radio, and the volume of calls were, they were high. They were high. People were engaged. And that is because that is where our Haitian community, that's where they live. I remember growing up listening to Voilà Kai, Eco Evangelique, and then there was this other one with this very distinct music, but I can't remember the exact name. But this is where our parents, our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents are. That's where they are. That's where they are. And similar to when we were in the community touring during our health education, we are committed to find our Haitian community where they are and make sure that they have the right health information to make the right health decisions. We will continue our bilingual delivery of our health streams, and then continue to provide essential topics, especially with our COVID updates. This is my favorite part. It's all favorite to me, but this part right here is quite amazing. So our academic scholarships, for those of you who are watching us, if you're catching the rebroadcast, if you have friends that live in Rhode Island or New Hampshire, you might want to tell them that next year, and their high school seniors this year intending to graduate in May or June 2022, you need to tell them that they are going to be eligible to apply for our academic scholarships. So not only just Massachusetts residents, it's been Massachusetts residents for the past 5 years. And that was very, very intentional so that we can work out the right system in order to build our capacity. And now we're there. So the growth of this organization is very tangible. We will be able to impact young Haitian Americans in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Again, 6 awards will be available. The actual amount of these awards will be disclosed in February when our application window opens, February 2022. So even before February, you might want to share this video with them or just tell them to be on the lookout for HAMA's academic scholarship opportunities. And then also professional development will still be available to anyone who applies, but most exclusively the HAMA mentorship program, of which Kenley briefly mentioned at the beginning of this programming, will be available to the selected recipients of this academic scholarship. So we're here for you guys. We're here giving you what I wish I had growing up, and many of us on this 37-man team wish we had growing up. So we're very excited for what's to come with HAMA in the future. I personally do hope that New Hampshire and Rhode Island, that we really make those lasting connections with our Haitian community. And we also thank all of our partners for 2021, all of our community partners, everyone who has made HAMA and all of the accomplishments that we've been able to see and experience possible. So thank you so much. I am ready to learn and take some notes and hear from our guest speaker. I don't want to take away any time from Marc Julmise. I want to tell you guys a little bit about who she is. And Dr. Paul Farmer did mention that you would be hearing from her, and that is definitely something that we definitely want to do this evening. Before I get into that, I want to actually bring Kenley. Actually, Marc, stay right here. Absolutely, stay right here. Hi. Wonderful, wonderful, awesome. Marc, I know you were backstage watching, viewing, and everything. Thank you. And we're excited to hear about your organization and the wonderful work that you guys do through Zanmi Lasante. But I did want to bring Kenley up here. Kenley, thank you for orchestrating that great conversation with our scholarship recipients. And do you want to say a little bit, I want to just highlight a little bit about the mentorship program that is going to be ongoing, because it already launched in August of this year, but to just give our viewers, and Marc, of course, a little bit about our mentorship program.
Yes, of course. So like you said, it launched a few months back just in preparation for this fall semester, and it has been terrific. It's been an opportunity not only to engage with these individuals on kind of, I guess, topics similar to what we've discussed now, but then to also keep track of their academic trajectory and where they are now, where they hope to be, being able to be exposed to such young minds and understanding that their potential is essentially limitless, and that all the things that they kind of like strive towards. It's amazing watching them being able to put things in place, but it's also been a privilege and an honor to be a part of that, their growth and their journey. And as far for where we plan to go from here, the big picture goal is to be able to increase the number of mentees that we currently have, which as of right now is 8. We hope to expand that number to reach other undergraduate students as they go through their collegiate careers and pursue in different career paths, and be able to expose them to professional career panels and whatnot, and assist them in networking with the careers of individuals they aspire to have, to be able to back their educational but also their technical skills and possible training opportunities and things of that nature. But yeah, it is a mentorship program that just seeks to pour into the youth and observe and assist in their growth in whichever way we can.
So friends, this is why you want to apply. Okay, this is why you want to apply. This is why you want to share this video. This is we're here for you guys. We are here. So without further ado, I want to tell you a little bit about Marc Julmise. Thank you, Kenley. Marc Julmise is the interim director of Zanmi Lasante, the sister organization of Partners in Health. She previously served as the Deputy Chief Nursing Officer at Partners in Health, the Chief Nursing Officer and Deputy Operating Officer at L'Hôpital Universitaire Mirbalais in Haiti, a 300-bed state-of-the-art teaching hospital that is filling a huge gap locally and nationally for people who previously had limited access to quality health care. Marc is the co-creator of the Journey to 9+ initiatives, a comprehensive continuum of care package designed to follow mothers and children from early pregnancy through childbirth in the first 12 months of the baby's lives. She is also one of the co-developers of the Nursing Center of Clinical Excellence in Mirbalais, Haiti, which focuses on creating a bridge between pre-hospital education and competent clinical practice. She received her bachelor's in nursing from Atlantic Union College in Massachusetts and a master's in public health and a certificate in humanitarian assistance from Loma Linda University in California. Marc, welcome, and thank you for being with us. The floor is yours.
Wow, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. And can I rave about your mentorship program? I am super excited about that. That is, I can tell you that's I talk to my team a lot. When we talk, we say, what's your plan? What's your succession plan? And I said, we are all replaceable. And who are you planning to replace you? And that's the thing. If we're getting into a position, even now, you start planning on several people that can step in and replace you. And so the legacy lives on, and we're part of this legacy of change. So, you know, hats off, chapeau bas to you guys, because I think that is one of the most important things. And if there's any way I can help, I would love to support in that initiative.
Awesome.
But excuse me. But good evening, everyone. And I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to join you and to learn more about what you're doing. And during your annual fall festival, it truly, I can tell you, even learning even more is a pleasure and honor that you've invited me, and I'm able to learn more about some of these things that you're doing. So I want to share with you some reflections based on my lived experiences as someone who has lived and worked in Haiti, in the country for the past 11 years, and from some observations and really some multiple conversations I've had with my colleagues, my family, my friends, and strangers alike, specifically around the theme of resilience, around your theme that you have, resilience through adversity. And so as we discuss it, and it's been something that's been on the forefront in the last several years and in a lot of our discussions. So if you'll permit me a little bit, I would like to share a little bit more about myself with you. I was born in Haiti. I moved to the US with my family when I was 18 months old, and only returned to Haiti as a teenager, really very briefly once for a visit. And in 2010, following that catastrophic earthquake in Haiti, an event that significantly impacted my life and really the lives of many other people that I know, I decided to return to Haiti to help with earthquake recovery and health system strengthening. Working at a hospital in Keynote, providing service for about 5,000 people on the hospital 5,000 earthquake survivors on the hospital campus. Well, this was a 1-year contract, and so I always hesitate when people say this is a 1-year contract, because quickly when you got there, we realized that it required a much, much more investment if we actually wanted to have significant change. This was not a 1-year contract. This was an investment in time, in your heart, and your willingness to see this through. So just a little bit, when this is actually during this time when it hit me even more, that phrase, Haitian resilience, the Haitian strength really started to take root for me, especially right after you had cholera that continued to devastate the country shortly after the earthquake. And I, like some of you, I assume, we heard as we were growing up multiple times about multiple phrases, and our Haitian families speak in parables about the strength of the Haitian people, about the resilience of the Haitian people, and about all the adversities that they continue to face. And one particular phrase, actually several stands out, but one particular phrase, Dayamon Yamon, we have mountains, there are more mountains, essentially saying there's always going to be another challenge facing you. And like many of you, I've heard the barrage of issues faced by the Haitian people. And some of you actually probably grew up in that and living those issues at the time. And and just in that, whether those issues happen to be natural disasters, political trauma, or issues stemming from historical trauma, usually after those commentaries, you would hear somebody come out with one of those phrases saying, how strong the Haitian people are, how resilient the Haitian people are. And we didn't actually use the word resilience, but that's what they were talking about, just the strength of the Haitians, the people. And so I actually want to focus a little bit more on that word, resilience. In 2013, the Haitian Mental Health Network hosted a conference with the theme of rethinking the concept of resilience in the Haitian community. In one of the literatures they presented, resilience was defined as a pattern of positive adaptation in the context of significant risk or adversity. So I further looked into the word, right? And it said resilience was Webster described it as an ability to recover or adjust easily into misfortune or change, or the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. So last year, a colleague of mine wrote an article in the Medium titled Haitian Resilience is not a sign of strength, it's a sign of our betrayal. It's actually a very great read, and I would recommend you, if you have a chance, to read through it. In one area, he poses a series of questions, and those questions really struck with me. And we had very deep conversations about that. He wrote, are Haitians resilient because they are capable of surviving without access to the most basic needs like food, water, and shelter? Are they resilient because they continue to strive despite being disproportionately impacted by internal and external shocks? By viruses and disease? Are they resilient because they somehow manage to preserve their hope, their humanity, and even their sense of humor amidst so much chaos and hopelessness? So I question, is the term we use, resilience, actually coping? If resilience is to recover quickly from difficulties or develop positive patterns of adaptation in the context of significant risk or adversity, in this current context that we have in Haiti, that's been going on for several years, where neither a global positive development or recovery has really occurred, should the term we use to describe a resilient population actually be coping? The mindset of survival rather than thriving, as described in one article. There's another article I want to share with you, and don't worry, it's not going to be too article heavy. This was actually published in the Cambridge Press in 2018, titled Resilience in Haiti, Is It Culturally Pathological? So in this article, the author made mention of the term pathological resilience, and that struck me a little bit. And he described it as a form of resilience that sublimates setbacks and makes it possible to roll with the punches. And as my colleague mentioned in his article in the Medium, and I echo his sentiments actually, he said, are we inadvertently normalizing the systemic failures, the inequities, the inequalities, by continuing to label it as Haitian resilience, praising people for surviving, for rolling with the punches. So I'm going to pivot, if you permit me, just a little bit, and invite you into another description of Haitian resilience, or resilience in itself. I call, for lack of a better word, advocacy, vision, stubbornness. I encourage you to choose one or make up another, or find one that's better and share that with me. But see, I'm not referring to multiple manifestations or the violent demonstrations, but to actually changing practices, changing policies, changing the tide. So in 2013, after being in Haiti for several years, I was privileged to join Partners in Health, Zanmi Lasante, team to open a university hospital in Mirvalais, or L'Hôpital Université de Mirvalais. Now, this is what I see as the definition of resiliency. And I propose advocacy coupled with action and practical positive change is what I propose as the definition of resiliency. Because shortly after that 2010 earthquake, Zanmi Lasante and PIH had the vision to build a 300-bed teaching hospital that could respond to a major disaster, even though many, many people were against it. They're like, why are you building a teaching hospital right now? That's not what we need. But they had the vision to know that is what we need. We need to invest in this. We need to change the tide. So if you fast forward several years, HUM opened, and we have the first and currently the only emergency physician residency program in the country, in addition to housing several other nurse physician residency programs, nurse anesthetist program, and nurse specialty programs. And I could actually enumerate on the number of residencies and fellowships that have been started by ZL, or the surgeries and procedures performed that were judged to be imprudent by some, and why is it being done in Haiti? But nevertheless, they were done successfully. However, that's actually not the point. The point being, see, because ZL, Partners in Health, had the vision to build this hospital, because they and other partners pushed for change, where they were able to support former residents, or we were able to support former residents that graduated from the ED residency program, who are already employed in the South running their facilities ED. They were able to respond to disaster in August, that just happened this past August, in Haiti. And this catastrophic earthquake, they were on site, local, treating local. In addition to the emergency physicians that we had there, we had surgeons responding, orthopedic OR nurses, anesthesiologists, and nurse anesthetists on hand to provide care. And that's actually just one example of so many that came out of changing that tide. See, the point is investing in change, in advocacy, in policy, in changing the funding stream, the narrative for others, and also the narrative for ourselves, can result in a positive change. So when we actually speak of Haitian resilience, it really is a pattern of positive adaptation to the context, a significant risk or adversity, rather than pathological resilience. So one thing that we know, Haiti has had its fair share of disasters and adversity. We have had devastating cyclones, hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, disease outbreaks, continued political upheaval, destabilized government, kidnapping risk of attack, external political influence, which that's another issue, food insecurity, health insecurity, devaluing of the local currency, to name a few. And this is all in the past couple of years. So here, to talk about resilience, we actually needed to be talking about rebuilding stronger infrastructure. That's resilience. Advocacy coupled with action and practical positive change. We need to talk about sustainable job creation. We need to talk about long-term investment in education, not short-term programs. I call those gap fillers. We need to talk about a call for change in funding streams, where the funding is not going through subcontractors. So by the time it actually gets to the Haitian population, there's not enough to actually make a difference. A call to changes in external influence on our politics. Moving away from pathological resilience and actually having a role and having to roll with the punches to actually having a time to grow, to build, to actually make a positive change. So I was speaking with a friend of mine about this recently because I struggle with the word resilience a little bit too, as you can see. See, what I've learned is that we don't want to be resilient. There's just no choice. Your other choice is to roll over and die. The question is, what do we need to do so we don't have to be resilient? What do we need to do so that we have a choice that it's not just coping? There is a phrase actually, and being Haitian, this is what we talk about. C'est après bataille, nous compter blessés. So it's after the battle, we count the wounded. We actually right now don't even have time to count the wounded because we're still in the middle of that battle. We're still surviving. But what I challenge people, or what I challenge you, and so many more people, is that let's look beyond what's happening now and say, how can we change the policy behind what continues to be these systemic issues that keep Haiti in where it is? How do we change the mindset that we have, if we have a mindset saying that Haiti is limited, to that, what is the possibility? I want to share with you just one thing, and I'm so happy that Paul Farmer had shared a little bit before, because he actually is one of the reasons that I joined Zanmi Lasante Partners in Health. And I remember, this is several years ago, we had the conjoined twin separation surgery. We had, the mother was pregnant with three babies, triplets, and 2 of them were conjoined. And when the thought was like, hey, let's do this in Haiti, let's do the separation. And I was like, no, that's not possible. We're not ready. We don't have this. And one thing he told me, which stayed with me, he said, don't tell me what we don't have. Tell me what we need to make this happen. Sometimes if we're talking about, instead of just coping with what we have, if we're talking about true resilience and going back to that description of saying patterns of positive adaptation in the context of significant risk or adversity, that changed my thinking from that point on. It's what do we need to do in the background to make sure that we can continue to move forward and not just live in the present and just deal with it and cope with it. So now, I don't believe in pathological resilience. I actually believe in moving forward. I am going to stop here, and if there's any questions, I would love to answer or even have a small discussion about that. But this is the view that I have of resilience, specifically in adversity. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Marc. That was really, really, really helpful. And you've said a lot of great things, and I am going to also invite Harvey. Okay, Kenley, his name is not Harvey, but Kenley back onto the screen, and then join us in this conversation. You've said a lot of great things, and one of the statements that you've made, which I really do take away, and I hope others take away from it, is that you have to keep moving with the vision, even if no one else sees it, right? You have to keep moving. The hospital in Mirebalais, I actually was able to visit that hospital in 2017. And if anybody will find yourself in Haiti at some point in time, you have to go see this hospital. It's one thing to talk about it, but to see it in person, to see what can actually happen in a place where it's the only hospital that is training folks in emergency medicine. Did I get that right, Marc? You have to really be able to see it to believe it. And the amount of people that they care for, I remember being there, and people are coming from all over to get care, all over. And they're waiting in long lines to get this care. And you could only just imagine what would they do if that facility was not there. So keeping the vision, running with the vision, and resilience is rebuilding. not necessarily, doing the damage control for what you see in your current present time, but thinking about where you're trying to go and then rebuild from within so that it could reflect outwards. I'm going to stop talking, Kenley. I don't know if you have anything to add. I just, Marc, thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you.
Yes, I thank you so much. Echo exactly what Brenda said. Really blown away by that talk. Opened up a lot of things that I hadn't considered with my own culture, and very appreciative for it. But one of the things that you mentioned in terms of resilience, it almost seems as if resilience holistically is this multifactorial process in which if we get stuck at one stage, then it can become pathological, which is if you get stuck at continuously just being able to survive or recover the situation, but almost live in a world where you almost anticipate that situation to come again, and your response is to just bounce back from it the same way. Whereas the next step that I see from your talk is being resilient in progress, where it's X event occurred, we deal with it, we count our wounds, whatnot. Now, I think the issue is because I've seen how this has permeated from Haiti and abroad to Haitian American students such as myself, where we deal with adversity, we deal with a situation, we bounce back from it, and now we gain our footing again. But it's almost as if we don't even have the audacity to request and seek resources to then propel ourselves to not have to deal with it or not deal with it at the same gravity. So my question to you is how do we convey that to our community? How do we convey that to our youth to gain this audacity to say, yeah, I am kind of like the story you mentioned of the hospital being built. How do we get more individuals of saying, yes, this is Haiti. Yes, we are low funded in many areas. Yes, it seems almost impossible to establish this, but we should have the audacity to dream of such an establishment, an institution.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I would even push it even further, saying instead of dream, make it a reality. Because some of the things that we want to push to is, one, let's change that. When I talk about funding streams, hit those donors, hit those philanthropists, and really start changing that narrative and that talk. I'm just going to use this past earthquake right now, and we are advocating it.
Right. I think what she was about to say was key. Marc, if you hear us, you can join us and hop right back in. I think she's having a little bit of some internet issues, but that is okay. That is totally fine. I'm glad she actually got through all of her talk, right? Right, Kimberly? I'm glad she got through all of her talk, and if she's able to join us again, we'll definitely have her back. But thank you so much again, Marc Julmise, for that wonderful presentation. I know I will be going back to viewing it again and listening to those words again. But great question, Kenley. How do we?
I think that is key in a lot of the situations where we've dealt with setbacks financially, academically, and we recover. But at what point do we start to question or rightfully desire more from the situation and go acquire it, as she was beginning to say?
Yeah, I want to add to what you're saying, or maybe it's like part of the answer. I think what we don't do enough is reflect and really assess what went well and what went wrong. And I'm going to pull it from an example of the amazing leadership that you and Tamara, like those leading that scholarship team, is that every time, after every year, there's a conversation, what can we do? What can we do? And now that we're here and we're opening up to New Hampshire and Rhode Island, that came after 3 years of we're not ready. How do we know we're not ready? Is because you have to assess what you're doing. If there's no evaluation, you can have all the resources you need, but still stumble into the same problem. And I think we have Marc back. Let's bring her onto the screen. Hey, we have you back, Marc. We were just having this conversation, continuing it, but feel free to jump right in and answer the question. We know what's going on. It's okay. We're good.
Yeah, I apologize.
That's okay.
No, this is our reality here. I think what I was going to say is, and I'm not sure what I'm saying, I would say challenge it even more and challenge it at the highest levels and keep moving, because after we just had this major earthquake here and the discussions, if you realize in one community that we had in the Glendas areas, about, if I believe it is 64 clinics, out of 64 clinics, there were 27 that were partially or completely destroyed. And we're talking about a community that is already at risk for floods, at risk for hurricanes, at risk for all this, and at risk for malnutrition, at risk for COVID, at risk. And so the places where they would actually go for clinics don't exist. So we had multiple NGOs, the government, working with the government so far, and they're doing these mobile clinics as a stopgap. And our discussion started being, instead of just focusing and giving money on the short-term mobile clinics, what's going to happen 6 months from now? What's going to happen a year from now? That funding is going to dry up, and there's still going to be people without access to a clinic. So we started asking, like, can we, and started pushing, because the money wasn't there, say, can we get funding to build temporary structures? Because we need to actually think, not just, okay, they're resilient right now, let's give them, but let's actually build so that they can actually find care. And they came back, talking to the departmental directors in the 3 departments that were affected. They came back and said, we need permanent clinics right now, because building a temporary structure is still going to expose us, because it's good for another 3 years, 3 to 5 years maximum. It's a semi-permanent structure. It's still going to expose us, and we're not going to get the funding for a permanent structure. Can we get a permanent structure? And so now our collective voices is to advocate to get a permanent structure, at least 3 in each of those departments. Because if we're talking about that, don't expose to people to the same risk that they have now, that we could change some of those risks. Because when we come to hurricane season next year, where are they going to be? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is so true and so powerful on so many levels. And I appreciate that talk. I do. And having my own perspective of what resilience is in our culture being expanded greatly through this conversation. And just from that, small bit of your response there is now working in my own mind in ways that we can now kind of apply it to HAMA in different areas of our own lives.
Yes, I totally agree with Kenley, Marc. While we lost you for a brief second, we were talking a little bit about Kenley's questions about having that audacity to ask. And I wanted to share a little bit about, it's one thing to ask and have all the resources you need, but if we're not evaluating what we're doing appropriately to understand what's working, what's not working, we can have all the resources, but end up in the same position because we're doing the same things that don't work, or really overlooking the things that can work in order to rebuild what you said is resilience. So I really, really appreciate this time. Thank you so much for your time, Marc. We really appreciate you. You'll be hearing from us again, especially on the fronts of mentorship. Kenley is our lead mentorship team lead, and I'm sure there's more to come down the pipe. So thank you so much. Oh, it's been a rich night. It has been, from the beginning to now, it has been a lot. And, we're nearing the end of our program. We are nearing the end of our programming. And if you're just joining us, you can, don't you worry, you'll be able to catch the rebroadcast on YouTube and or Facebook, whatever platform suits you best. But for the very first time, we're going to do something a little bit different this year. Very different, actually, this year. Since our beginning in 2017, we have never really held a campaign for HAMA. And as the founder of this organization, I'm going to tell you why. In our Haitian community, one of the things that we have vowed to do is gain the trust of our fellow Haitians that we serve. Growing up, I can remember vividly, different organizations, hearing of different organizations, understanding how, there's this term that's called modelage. Like 1 minute they're here, the next minute they're gone. You don't know what's going on. There's no updates. Fall Fest was actually put in place to make sure that we were being held accountable by our community to show you what's going on, what has been going on the current year, and what we plan to do in the future. All of these things to build trust in our community. As you have seen earlier in the presentation, what HAMA has been doing in the past several years, what has occurred in 2021, and what is to come. But for the very first time, we are launching our very first fundraising campaign. This is the very first time that HAMA is actually publicly saying, donate. Join us in our mission and help us improve the health literacy of our Haitian American communities. Help us continue to pour in to the lives of these young, brilliant Haitian American scholars who will, I know indeed, someday be the change that Marc talks about, that I know indeed someday will be the visionaries of building more clinics, not just here in the US, but back home where their roots are from, that are someday indeed will challenge systems and funders. I know, and I believe that. And because I believe that, I agreed in multiple conversations with our team that it is time that we launch our first campaign. It is time to allow our community to join forces with us to do the work, to continue, to do the work that we've been doing since 2017, without regret, So I want to bring your attention to the screen as we share with you a quick video about our very first HAMA fundraising campaign.
Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, resilience enabled HAMA to continue to provide the services that it does to our Haitian community. For the health tour, we were able to move to a digital platform to continue to provide health-specific content that's relevant for our community. As we continue to grow and look forward to our next year and HAMA's 5th year, we need your support. We're looking to enhance our scholarship program. We're looking to launch a mentorship program. And with that, our goal is to raise $15,000 this year to continue and provide new services, but continue to grow the organization. So with that, we are kicking off a campaign, and we would love your support. Any dollar counts. And over the next 8 weeks, we will be sharing content with you to demonstrate the importance of HAMA and where your dollars will contribute to. We look forward for your support in the future. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. That was Naomi Lewis, our fundraising team lead, and we thank her for her leadership. So you heard it, guys. You heard it. Going into our 5th year, April 1st, 2022, will mark 5 years that HAMA has been in existence. Our goal over the next 2 months is to raise $15,000 to continue the work that we're doing. Now, if you ask me, I already wrote my letter of thank yous because we've reached our goal. We haven't even started yet, but by faith, I believe that we will, because the work that we are doing is necessary and they are good seed. You're sowing good seed and good soil, and you see it. I want to tell you, if you are interested in joining us in participating in this campaign, you can head on over to our website at myhamahealth.org. You'll be guided to our donate button there, and it will bring you right through the prompts for you to make your lovely donation. And we go from there. And weekly, you'll find updates from our team if you follow us online on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. You will find updates about the campaign. If you're on our mailing list, our email list, you will receive emails about the campaign, how we're doing, and why you should actually donate. You've heard snippets this evening, but we're hoping that the content that we put out, you'll be able to actually grasp the magnitude of the work that HAMA has been able to do in our Haitian community since 2017, and we are so thankful. I'm going to invite the host, because I wasn't co-hosting tonight. I usually do, and it was, boy, isn't it great to have a break. Having a break is great, and this is what happens when you have a growing team. So, Kenley, thank you so much for leading us this evening. I want to turn it over to you for some closing remarks as we wrap up the night.
Thank you. But most of the thanks, if not all of the thanks, goes to you. Yes, me hosting, but that is a small role played in a huge mission and movement that you have got going on for years in the past and for years to come. So I am grateful. I know a lot of our members are grateful, as they've been showing so much support and love for what you've been doing through the chat. But I'm also grateful for all the people who have supported HAMA in the past. And like you said, that goal has already been achieved. It's already been guaranteed. The Lord has already given it to us. So let me go ahead and in advance thank all the individuals who will support us to reach that goal and see the vision that HAMA has. And whether that donation is your time, your energy, or your financial donation to help us get to where we're headed, we are so appreciative. And then we're also appreciative for those who took the time to log in to hear about all the things that we have done and plan to do, and providing us an audience to really convey all the things we plan to do in this community and share our vision and our mission. And again, please take the time to share this link, hold on to it if you want to replay it and re-listen to it. Definitely give it and spread it out, because the more ears and eyes that are on this, the more HAMA is going to grow, the more HAMA will be able to be propelled to our vision and be able to achieve the type of service and the level of service that we want to provide to our community.
Thank you so much, Kenley. And I'm going to also say thank you to you and the other 36 volunteered members of this organization, because truthfully, all of these things could not happen without folks like you and the rest of the team coming together, sharing the vision and running with it. As we close, I want to say to all of our viewers, our scholarship recipients, those who are watching live, even on the rebroadcast, I almost got glossy-eyed, and it's not over yet. So the tears are real, and they happen more often because I'm grateful. If someone was to say, in 2017, in 2021, this is what HAMA would look like, I would actually not even proceed. Why? Because back then, I could not see what this day would be. But I knew that I had a vision. You don't need to know all of the details. But when it is your purpose, you move forward. You ask for help. Isabelle, one of our recipients, academic scholarship recipients, said that today. She struggled with asking for help. Well, Isabelle, I'm glad you're learning that at a very young age, because I had to learn that in my 20s. You got to ask for help. And then I had to realize that with HAMA. I've had HAMA members tell me, Brenda, you can't do it all. And I'm like, I know I can't. They're like, well, utilize us. And it's hard. Sometimes you just go. But you have to run with your vision. And I promise you, when you do, it's going to be better than you thought. Because my vision of HAMA inching towards 5 years was not 37 people in 5 different states and scholarship programs that are not only in Massachusetts, but moving into other states, providing opportunities to other Haitian Americans. I didn't envision collaborating with folks in the field of medicine who specialize, who are Haitian Americans specializing in specific topics, bringing them to HAMA's platform to share their knowledge. I didn't see HAMA on the radio. I did not see all these things, but I saw a community of healthy individuals who identify as Haitian. I saw seeds being poured back into our community in terms of academic scholarships. I didn't know all the details, but I had a vision. You have to have a vision and run with it. And just like Marc said, even if everyone else around you can't see it, you have to keep running with it. So I do pray and hope that each and every one of you guys who's watching and listening, you're not sitting on a gold mine. And when I say sitting on a gold mine, I say that from personal experience because I sat on HAMA for 8 years and did nothing with it out of fear. And boy, today, on November 14th, 2021, I'm glad I woke up and I'm glad I took a leap of faith. And this is what faith will do. So you guys run with us, partner with us. This vision that we have about this campaign, if money is not something you could give, Kenley said it best, your time. If you want to connect with us, connect with us. Be part of what we're doing because we are onto something good and I know we're going somewhere great. So for all of you guys watching this evening, thank you so much. If you're watching the rebroadcast, thank you. Don't forget to visit our website, myhamahealth.org. That is where you will find all information about our fundraising campaign. Follow us online, Instagram and Facebook at myhamahealth. Don't forget to tell folks that you know in New Hampshire and Rhode Island that there's scholarships coming, okay? There's scholarships coming for Haitian American high school students pursuing higher education, okay? Don't forget to tell them that that our scholarship window will be opening in February 2022. So stay tuned for all of that good stuff. And we look forward to what is to come. We'll keep you posted. Stick with us, run with us. Just as Kenley did, he found us on Facebook, and now he's the leader of our mentorship group. So thank you so much, Kenley. It was a pleasure. I got glossy, but they didn't fall. They didn't fall. But glossy for good reasons. Glossy for good reasons. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving and holiday season. We look forward to seeing you guys and seeing you guys virtually, connecting with you guys, and partnering with you guys in all the work that we're doing for our Haitian American community. So thank you. Have a great night.